Hi everyone, welcome back to Entity Studios. Today's piece is called Girls Night. For those of you who have friends or who yourselves like to send and receive throwback photos, this one is dedicated to you. For this piece I really wanted to focus on multiple characters, colors, and trying out a few new techniques. For multiple characters, I wanted to, obviously this is a 3-character piece, I wanted to show the appeal of the characters, or I wanted to focus on the appeal of the characters and figure out a way to make them all work together to convey the idea of a crazy party kind of night that happened whenever, and everybody was having a great time. So that was basically the idea in my mind, but I wanted to put multiple characters in there because it's something that I don't do very often. So you'll see a lot of the pieces that I've been doing in the series have multiple characters in them. This is the first that I'm doing, obviously, with 3 characters. But ultimately I'm trying to do more characters, which is why the rest of them that I have in the series also has multiple characters. For this piece I went through a significant ugly phase during the sketching, and I'm not really sure why it was such a struggle to start. I didn't think about it at the time, but it did take me a little longer than usual to do the sketching. So if anyone is having issues with the ugly phase of their piece, I can say this: just be stubborn about it and persevere. Just don't give up. Eventually it kind of works itself out. But if you are having problems, you can, take a step back, walk away, take a couple minutes, an hour, a day, circle back to it. Sometimes I even scrap it, like I altogether get rid of the work that I'm working on and start over with a new layer or get a new sheet of paper or whatever it is. So don't be afraid to start over from scratch, and don't beat yourself up about it if you still can't make it work. You may just need to do some more research, or you may just need to circle back to the idea when you have a little bit of a different perspective on it. So those are just, a couple real quick tips for working through some things that can be a little challenging when you get to the ugly phase of one of your pieces. Anyway, for this piece I did a second sketch layer to really refine the concept. I usually do about 2 layers, one with the really rough sketch and then another one to refine it a little bit before I get into the inking part of it. Rarely do I do a 3rd sketch. Usually if I'm still working out the concept in my head and I don't really have an idea what to do, that's when I usually get into that. But usually I just do two layers and then keep it moving for digital pieces. For inking, I use the steady stroke actually a lot on this piece. I don't usually use the steady stroke on in anything, and I'm not really sure if it's called steady stroke. I might just be using that because that's what it is in ZBrush. But for for those who haven't tried it in Sketchbook Pro, feel free. It's actually a pretty cool tool. I happened to be working in a pretty confined space and didn't really have full range of motion, so the steady stroke came in really handy when I was working on this piece. One of the other things that I really tried to focus on was color. Colors are one of those things that that's challenging for me. It just takes a little bit more brain power than usual to get colors into a piece, and I've been doing a lot of fully rendered pieces recently, so I've had to focus on color a lot more than usual. I laid down the flats, and I didn't intend them initially to be the final colors, but I just kind of went with it. And once I got around to rendering, I actually didn't mind the colors that I had chosen. And when I was choosing colors, obviously the champagne I've been working on for a few weeks now, and that one has evolved, and the colors that I used were basically still the same. So I just kept those colors and changed them up slightly, I guess. But for the most part, they're the same colors. For the martini and the margarita, I knew that I wanted the martini to be green, and I knew that I wanted the margarita to be strawberry flavored. That's about all I had going into this. So for the glass and for the liquids, I chose to stay in the same color families for both pieces, so that I didn't have to think too much about, anything else regarding color theory. And for the faces and the bows, I tried to use complementary colors to contrast and pop with the overall color of the glass and the liquid. So that's how I worked through the colors. And I'm not the biggest on color theory, but I've done my share of working through my challenges. And so at some point I'll probably get better at it, but I just need to continue to power through on that one, to tell you. Anyway, for textures, this came as a surprise. I wasn't really thinking of textures as I was going through and sketching the piece, but I went, when I started to render, I saw some of the textures coming through, and that really made me happy, because one of the things that I really like is the bow on the margarita. It gives more of a velvety texture, and that has to do with the texture brush I use, and that was more of a happy accident than actual planning, so yay for me. I'll list the brushes and stuff that I used in the description below, so that you guys, if you want to try those brushes, that'll be fine. For the champagne, the bow has already been done, and it's supposed to be more satin, and I did miss an opportunity to go back and change it, but I was like, she just tried on a different bow for the night to hang with her girls. Just kept it moving. I knew the martini bow would be something more like thin satin strips, so those were pretty easy to render. Obviously, there's not a whole lot to them. I do feel like I missed some kind of opportunity with the textures for the strawberry, though. It wasn't until way later that I was looking back and I was like, oh, I could have did this, and oh, I could have did that, because there is a lot of texture, with having all the seeds on there. But I really did keep it simple. I simplified that a great deal from normal strawberries, so I wasn't crazy worried about the fact that I didn't go back and add some more texturing to that. The sugar and salt rim for the margarita was something that I wasn't expecting. Like, I didn't go into it with a plan, and when I started to sketch it out and then draw it, I was like, or ink it, I was like, oh yeah, that I can see this looking really good with some color. So I'm not really sure if it's sugar or salt, to be honest. I have either when I have a margarita, so for me it's not really a big deal. But I thought that it really came together once I started putting the colors on it, and putting the multiple colors on it really made it pop, so I actually liked that a lot. And it worked out really well. So overall, this piece had about 50 layers, which was insane, because I think that's the most layers I've ever used on any piece using my iPad. I thought for sure the iPad was going to revolt, but it too powered through. I didn't know if the Sketchbook app could handle all those, but it did, and I didn't have really any problems. I think the only problems that I went through had more probably to deal with space issues on my iPad. Unfortunately, the final parts of this video weren't recorded because I ran out of space on my iPad, so I'll be offloading a ton of stuff so I don't run into that problem in future. Overall, I had a really great time working on this piece. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. If you like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.